Yeah. So we're hitting all the requisite record buttons while we're. All right. Hey there, ho there. This is the CapmLew podcast with your host CapmLew and co-captain Luke.
Yes.
And we've got our lav mics on and a Facebook live stream to accompany us on this journey. Today we have a specific mission. We want to begin an ethical exploration. Yes, and this is tender doings, because this ethical exploration will be focused around, how do we put it, Luke? Child fame.
Yes.
Famous kids. The reason we're doing it will explain what it is.
Yes.
We've been watching for years as lots and lots of good-intentioned coach moms and coach dads,
yes,
and company owners and YouTube influencers begin to find the yellow brick road leading into them putting their kids out there.
Yes.
And
yes,
we're going to talk about that today, but first we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors.
Yes.
Which is several of you guys who listen.
Yeah.
We're very grateful for the monthly budget. We're presently at an expansive $65 a month, which is up $10 from last month.
Yes.
And we are very, very grateful for that. We dream of GoPros.
Yeah, I know.
And eventually we dream of travel and interview and spot checks and things like that.
Yeah.
We're going to do frontside Smith stalls across the country if this keeps up. So we're very grateful for those of you who sponsor us through our Podbean
Yes.
link. It's somewhere you can find the way.
It's fine.
We are pretty sure that we will figure out better ways to harvest American coin off of you. A little DI reference there from Ancient Artifacts.
Oh my gosh.
But we also want to thank our friends at Life Skateboards who make these lovely planks. I will not fail to hold up my next rider. I'm riding one of these right now. It's an 11-inch wide, 14.75 wheelbase on the Life Concave. I'm very happy. Luke, what are you riding?
I have like an 875 popsicle.
That's what you ride.
I kind of found my home there for a while. I've really been enjoying it. I know that the popsicle is really popular, and that in the craft maker movement it gets not necessarily hate, but maybe a little bit of hate. But I actually enjoy them.
Yeah.
I actually really like them. And it's not because I do a bunch of switch stuff. I just actually like the shape. I like a bigger, like a round nose. I don't know. It just pleases me.
And what pleases you is what ought to please the makers too.
Yes.
Although making popsicles as a maker myself,
yes,
making popsicle boards was always less of a passion than making something unique and shaped and fun.
Yes.
And you know, opinions are multitudinous. They are unlike buttholes because each person usually only has one of those.
Yeah, you only get
but
one.
Opinions, we have them all over the place.
Yes, right. They're like skin pores. Or
I am grateful that opinions are not like buttholes. Yeah. Otherwise, I'd be covered with buttholes. I'd be putting buttholes into everything I think about.
Oh my gosh. Dude. Oh my gosh. If I may add a caveat, though, I like popsicles from a place like Life Skateboards. Like, you know, I don't want like an anti-hero popsicle. They're not the worst, but I like the more decadent concaves and Cadillac-like feel of a maker board than a shill.
Specifically makers who invest their time and treasure into developing deep concaves with lots of contour and some graduated vector in the kicks.
Yes.
So thanks to Life Skateboards for keeping us on skateboards and keeping us from having to endure the rigors of the countertop, where we can usually only pick from a handful of Chinese and Mexican production. Not to be a hater, but I hate that.
But I hate it.
I really do. It rankles me something fierce. And whatever. But so we're grateful to Life Skateboards for making great skateboards. We would like to encourage every one of you to go on lifeskateboard.com,
Yep.
lifeskateboard.com. Order yourself up something special to ride. Maybe you are wondering how it'll do. Put it next to your daily rider, incorporate it into your fun, and find out that no, these things are super great for daily riders, even the weirdo shapes.
Yes.
That said, it's CapmLew and my co-captain Luke. Luke keeps me on track. I have a brain and mind and a mouth. We've all learned this over the years. But today we're doing a specific purpose with our episode, and we want to talk about and only begin to talk about what will probably be a recurrent ethical exploration. Little background. Those of you who know me know that I am in the city of Cincinnati. I've lived here for 22 years. I've been in my neighborhood, which is an urban neighborhood, for 18 years. And started working in skateboarding professionally, really only part-time, really amateur, in 2005. By 2008, I decided to start my own brand because I have a different view of what the role of a brand can be in skateboarding. I see that best embodied by outfits like Life Skateboards,
right.
Who bring craft and trade together and give you something of character. Also, Life is very sober-minded, pro-sobriety.
Yep.
There's a God-fearing aspect to me, and there's a God-fearing aspect at Life. And as many ways as I may be different to the other people I deal with, these commonalities are precious to me. I do steer clear of like Christian skateboard brands. They creep me out. I really do. I get creeped out. The idea that, oh, now you're good enough at skateboarding to rep the man with the holes in his hands. But I see more. I like my skateboards to not have a particular religious faith. I like them to be made of quality laminate and have good contours. I find that at Life. I made that with Fickle, and Luke and I will be back at it in some small batch activities that will be supplemental to our growing media empire.
It's an empire.
We did not think it would take off this fast. We've got more than 10 people a day who are at least looking into possibly listening through some of these slavering rants.
Oh, dude.
What?
We're on Apple Podcast.
Oh!
We're on Apple. I wish there was a bell I could ring. We figured it out. We're on Apple, everybody.
Yeah, that was a funny thing because we started getting... We've been asking Apple to let us through the door.
Yes.
Why? This rankles me. I love rankle. That's a great word. My hackles rise. That's another one I like saying. Rankle and hackle. It rankles my hackles.
Yeah.
My hackles have hackles rising on them
right.
when we are asking, oh, please, giant soulless media corporation who is obviously hand in hand with the deep state,
yes, right,
to cover up all this stuff, and
yes.
Will you please let us put our humble little itty bitty podcast on your service so that we can, but
right.
You just do it. So we did it. Luke did it. He's back.
Well,
Luke is back of house.
You can't. May I just
do it? Get
did
that.
20 seconds. Sometimes you get something done and you get done with it, but you look back retrospectively and realize that you don't understand how you got it done. It just now is accomplished. It's a terrifying black hole place for me to be because you didn't actually learn anything. All you grew in was just your terror that everything is going to be like this in the world. Whereas you're trying to get something done and you're just hitting buttons in different orders until it just works. It's like trying to put your password in and then you reset the password and your new password that you put in, it says, hey, this was the old password. You know what I mean? All that being said, we're on Apple. It happened.
What was so funny about getting on Apple? Apple's the one I use on my phone.
Yes.
I don't have Spotify, but I hear it's giant. All the young people in my life are like, you're blowing it.
Yes.
Podbean's a loser.
Yes.
And
well,
you run what you brung. And Podbean was the one that was the simplest to start with for us.
Yes.
We also have delusions of not being canceled.
Well,
Today's episode is very likely, if there were any indoors left, to get me barred again at the door of an indoor skate park, which happened before when I broached this very topic.
yes.
Although I have zero emotional bad feelings about doing this. I feel great about talking about the child star phenomenon that we
Yes.
see with the ability to platform children in skateboarding and to rake in really a lot of money.
Yeah, real money.
There's
to it.
real
Yeah.
money involved. We're talking $100,000 months
Yes.
can be raked in by nothing more than people looking at stuff.
Right.
We are not sure that this will happen to us.
Yeah. Be nice.
It would be nice.
Yeah.
We are not at all averse to
Right.
large amounts of money coming in through our endeavors, nay, labors in creating media. We're not against it. If it happens, we have plans in place for how not to lose our minds. And I think that this is what we're going to wind up talking about with this, because we've been watching for years. Back in the day, BITD, for what it's worth.
Yes.
Back in the day, we watched. I don't know. I'm going to name names. We're going to talk about
Go ahead.
public
Yeah.
things.
I think it's fine.
We've been ground zero on Revive Skateboards since day one here.
Day one.
Revive Skateboards spent at least 1 year, if not 3 or 4, as the top selling brand of skateboards in America.
Yeah.
Outfits like Thrasher and the 9 Club have Jeff Wiseman with the stay away from hookers and blow. We
We're
are
on it.
definitely staying away from hookers and blow. We are definitely going to stay married to our wives our whole lives long.
Yes.
We know the man comes around.
Yes.
That he will cut us down.
Yes.
Johnny Cash has taught us this much, and so we're gonna maintain that line in our lives. Yeah, you need really creative and interesting plans.
Yes.
Something beyond doomsday bunkers, which has also been done in skateboarding.
Yes.
And I'm not critical of the purchase of a doomsday bunker as a branding base. That happened in Dayton.
Yeah.
With
Who was that guy?
Alien
Alien
Workshop. Rob Dyrdek. He did a couple of interesting moves.
Yes.
But we're not here to talk about Rob. We'll talk about Rob soon.
Yes.
And we'll talk about Fred Gall and Dan Pencil. We're going
Yes.
to bring up some of the
Right.
old low card, back when low card was low card.
Right.
Back when Vox Shoes was owned by skaters
I forgot. Yes.
who
Vox, dude.
ran it into the ground in year 2.
Dude, I think you bought me a pair of Vox shoes in the very beginning of things, and they sucked so bad.
That
dude.
was after the skaters didn't own it anymore.
they
Yes,
sucked so bad,
immediately
dude.
became garbage.
Dude, like
And,
the soles wore down. That so like
yes.
the
There was a
waffle
hole-
sole.
there
you
was
could
a hole-
feel.
Yeah, there was,
You know?
where the whole sole looks brand new,
Yes.
but there's a quarter-size hole under the ball of your
Yes,
pushing foot,
literally, dude.
or your front foot where you squeeble back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we're ground zero. I'm historic ground zero, and was skating parks here. I'm a park skater.
Yes.
You know, I'm not a street skater. I'm an old guy. I like a little quarter pipe.
Oh, come on now.
And I'd be out at the skate park, and Andy Schrock would be out there back when Revive was called Revenge.
Yes.
And he's a happy-go-lucky guy, just doing his thing. I didn't even know if he was married at all back then. He was just young.
Yeah.
And he was just creating content, and he had just found something that he was so into.
Yeah.
I remember being at the park thinking, ugh, you know, I don't want to be in any of these videos.
Right.
You know, like, I don't want to be, like, in the background. And then I remember thinking, oh, I was in the background of that shot. And then I remember, like, making faces and being, like, in the background and having fun with it. So even for me, being around it when it first started, before there were sponsored riders, and it was just a crew of kids from Beachmont,
Yeah.
I grew in my affection for it, and it helped to reveal to me what a curmudgeon and a smug jerk I am, which it's in us, you know.
Yeah.
So I have an appreciation for Revenge when it started, and then they had a name problem because they started making boards, and there was already a Revenge skateboards, and then they became Revive skateboards, which I thought was just the best
Yeah, no, that was a good
job of rebranding ever.
Literally.
And by then they were getting somewhere with the YouTube stuff.
Yes.
And I've talked a lot about the emergence of the craft makers and how, like, nobody's going to platform craft makers. And it is a problem because craft makers have to not only make every single thing, but they also have to, there's no one that's going to, like, I mean, there was an article done on me as a maker. It was labeled, it was Loyalty to Fickle Skateboards. And it was about Ohio. And I don't know the guy who did that.
Where was it? Like, was it in a
Skate and Annoy.
Oh, Skate
I think
and
Killwag wrote it. I looked it up a little while ago because Instagram wanted to know if there were any articles about me that had been written. So I filled out the links to articles. And then Instagram hit me back and they're like, you don't qualify for whatever it was they were trying to force me to do in the first place.
Yes, of course.
Facebook forced me to become a content creator page. I do not resent this. I don't. It's worthless in the large scheme.
Yeah.
In the scheme of a life lived and deathbed regrets and things like that's how I think on the daily.
Yeah.
Like I just had I guess as close to a meltdown as I've had in a while, and I'm thinking like, oh, I got to handle this with like don't create deathbed regrets.
Right.
If I can.
Yeah.
The way I treat and talk to people.
Yeah.
But today, I think I'll risk it.
Go ahead.
Because here's what happened. I mean, this is what we see in the public sphere.
Yes.
Revenge, it becomes Revive, it becomes a huge YouTube phenom.
Right.
There's a grip of people who are affiliated with Revive Skateboarding. And Revive Skateboards, and it acts like a board brand.
Yeah, I guess so.
It acts like it's I don't know, any of the three major deluxe brands. They've got three major brands, and then they've got Grimple sticks. Their best work yet.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then it acts like Santa Cruz or Welcome.
That's actually interesting. I didn't think that they acted that way. I thought they just acted like a media empire who happened to sell boards.
Well, that's what they were.
Yeah.
What they were was a media empire, and good on them, by the way. Good on them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that their content is pretty, I have real opinions about the whole, I'm going to introduce someone to skateboarding for the first time, so this video is going to be how to kickflip. I think that is a sad, even dumb idea.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But me thinking that something is dumb,
yeah, I mean,
that's just the start of good conversations.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't know who crowned my thoughts about something
right.
king.
Yes.
That's not as important as it sounds.
Yes.
If our listeners are like, well, I don't think it's dumb, I want them to know that I don't think you're dumb.
Yeah, or you're
for thinking that that's
right.
not dumb. Me thinking something's dumb is not the same thing as me thinking you're dumb if you disagree.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a lost level.
I really enjoyed that you just said that. I think it's really important.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to tell you guys that I think things are dumb. That, you know what? In 5 years, I won't think they're dumb. Or I won't think of the same way.
Right.
I'm still going to tell you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because, well, that's what they pay me the big bucks for. That's what we're doing here.
Hundreds of dollars every year.
But my hope isn't that you will be convinced to agree with me. My hope is that you'll be convinced to think.
Yeah.
And to talk to each other and,
right.
that. And Luke's watch is ringing.
I'm sorry, dude.
No, don't be.
I got the high tech. I got the Jarvis watch.
Is it really called Jarvis?
No, I wish. I just want Jarvis to be real so bad. I love Tony Stark. He's like the coolest Avenger or whatever bullshit. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Revive.
I'm just filtering 1,000 things.
Yeah, I know, dude.
So anyway, Revive blew up. and became a top-selling brand of boards,
Yeah.
while it was also like the top Google Media money harvester.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because Google found out that they can make money using this content to platform advertisement.
Yeah.
Now, so if you look at it objectively, that's fine. That's business, but that's not long-term money.
Yes.
It's lots of money, but it's not long-term money.
Yes.
Or it is, but it'll have to be handled. And I hope that it's still working.
Yes.
I do, because I wish people well.
Yeah.
Even people who wish bad things for me. I hope that I hope you're rich and healthy,
Right.
and that your relationships are strong.
Yes.
I really do, because just, this stuff is just all so ephemeral.
Yes.
But then something happened. I remember I was on the sidelines over here.
Right.
Luke and I, some years back, started farting around with making videos.
We made like 3 of them.
It was fun.
It was awesome. I enjoyed them.
It was
tremendously.
summertime, and it was really hot,
so
and
hot,
I
dude.
owned a candy wagon.
Yeah. Oh, don't call it that. Please. Oh my God.
I owned a white panel van.
Yes.
And we were taking trips. We did Idiots in Cleveland.
Yes. Oh.
That's one of my favorite videos we did.
La creme, la creme.
And around the same time, we did a video in which I had one of those sincere camera moments, both of us did, where we were like, listen, Revive skateboards, like,
Right.
no disrespect intended, but we don't respect you moments, you
Sure.
know. You'll have those with me.
Right.
And it was funny.
Yeah.
I there's lots of jokes that I'm going to regret, and some that I already do.
I can't even remember why we were saying that, because now that I'm thinking about Revive,
Well,
my entire thought process is like, dude, they just did their thing. I don't know. Like, it's whatever.
A little more than their thing happened.
Okay, go ahead.
All right,
Yeah, go
because what happened was, and this is not sinister or some big expose,
Go ahead.
but I remember that there was a Dove men's skincare campaign involved in the public thing.
Sure.
And kids came into the mix,
Yes.
The son of the owner, started to be featured in the videos.
Yeah.
And I seem to remember the son of the owner being in the Dove skincare campaign. I don't know. I caught it peripherally. I like surf skate media. I'm very interested in whether there are even voices on certain things.
Right.
And then I began to see the rise of the present standard for carrying the Revive brand.
Right.
And it is the little kid son of the owner being platformed into being a very widely known, I would use the term famous.
Yeah. No,
person.
for sure.
All right. Now, before you guys think I'm just going to pile onto this and automatically assume that this is a terrible and sinister thing,
Right.
that's not what I intend to do.
Hmm.
I intend to address that this is a dangerous thing,
Yeah.
that this is a tricky thing,
Yes.
but I don't want us all to default to some negative conclusion,
Right.
because what Luke and I were thinking about in the car was, look, can it be done?
Yes.
Can it be done well?
Yeah.
That kids can be made famous. They can be child stars.
Yes. Right.
And not suffer the stuff that the Nickelodeon kids did.
Yeah.
And the
that's-
Disney kids did. Because
that's
if you
dark.
don't know, you should find out. It's a feature of your modern history that is just a Google search away.
Yeah.
Finding out like what Nickelodeon was doing, the kind of direction and leadership they were hiring in to do shows.
Right.
And it's sad, it's dark, but this is skateboarding.
Yeah.
And like, it shouldn't be the case that a kid's life suffers long-term damage just because they were YouTube. There were also channels on YouTube that are using kids on toy reviews and package opening.
Yeah.
Then there were some reality parents, and there's some sad stories out there about reality parents who the kids really didn't want their family to be a reality TV show, and it was downright abusive, neglectful, awful,
Yeah.
And I don't want us to default to that that's automatically happening. In fact, I would love to find out that this is actually being done well.
Yeah.
I almost expect it because Andy Schrock, who
Right.
runs Revive, strikes me, and that's all I got.
Yeah.
Strikes me as kind of a good guy.
Yeah, dude.
And he's from Ohio.
Yeah.
He's not a California, like, fame-chasing type of dude.
Right.
I couldn't help but wonder out loud yesterday, for all of the suspicious things that might be the go-to on this,
Yeah.
because I do see it as a dangerous and often dark
Yeah.
direction.
Yes.
I see it as a very dangerous, difficult, and dark thing that making kids famous thing is. I couldn't help but wonder if maybe could the guy be doing it well?
Yeah, like what does that look like?
That's what my next question is.
What does it look
What
like?
would it look like for someone to do it well?
Yeah.
And I thought we would not only put this out there, but ask, like, hey, like, I think in every scene I've traveled to,
Yeah.
there's a dad with a son or a daughter who is watching their kid rise up in influence or rise up in popularity.
Right.
I mean, I know a kid who, I'm going to leave out, like, even the gender. I know a kid in an area of the country who is a hilarious individual with a ton of their own personality, who at a very young age even seemed capable of making the decision to freaking rip this thing and go for it.
Yeah.
And the parents they've got a kid who's rocketing to first place finishes.
Yeah.
And they're sort of being drawn along in the wake of that kid, as far as I can see, and I think it's true.
Yeah.
That's not a parent who's deciding. And I know another situation I watched where, and I'll leave out the gender even and like that, but where it was the opposite. It was a kid being platformed and not forming a proper personality and being stunted and being two-dimensionalized into media content. And I've seen both of those, and I wondered, like, hey, in regard to the largest selling YouTube skateboarding thing out there, like, wouldn't it be cool to find out that this is not, I'm uncomfortable with the term exploitative. Even just compromising a kid's development.
Sure.
I imagine that it's probably not morally wrong automatically to make your kid a famous person.
No.
Maybe not.
But the entire thing slants that way. It would be very difficult. You would really have to be forward thinking and set things up really well.
I think that it's unappreciated how dangerous and damaging it often is to decide that your kid is going to be a public figure.
Yeah.
That said, I don't think that makes it automatically wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, if I could do an interview with someone who was one of those folks, I would ask them, what do you do to make sure that your kid isn't ruined by fame? That they have, like, what are the difficulties you see coming up for your kid, or that your kid has already endured?
Yeah.
Maybe there are fewer than we would imagine.
Gosh, I hope so. That would be awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Because it sounds like every story you hear is just horrible. You know what I mean? Like, especially in the Hollywood realm. Like, dude, some of those boys, like, were in 3 movies and then disappeared for 20 years and they come back and it was hell. All kinds of horrible essay. And,
Really,
you know what I mean? Like,
really bad stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think that ought to be what's normal in skateboarding.
No.
I mean, there have been serious allegations, like at the X Games level, of some really bad behavior. And those allegations were never adjudicated that I know of.
Right.
But it really sent a cold shudder down my spine. I largely suspect that those allegations were true. That is an opinion.
Right.
For what it's worth.
For what it's worth.
But suspecting that something is true, you recognize it is still an allegation.
Yes.
And allegations are not criminal convictions, and the presumption of innocence before the proof of guilt is essential.
Is essential.
It's essential in our civilization, at the civilization level.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
That's a brainful.
You remember that guy who got busted on Instagram like a couple years ago? he was trying to teach his kid how to drop in on the vert ramp, and the kid was standing up there, and he pushed him off, and the kid fell down the transition. It was a really big deal.
That is a really big deal.
Yeah, that one was rough.
I don't think that's typical. I've been out there a lot around a lot of coach dads,
Yeah.
and I have never seen something like that happen with a coach dad.
No.
I've been at a lot of events, I've been in a lot of places, and I'm happy to say I've found that to be rare.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it got caught and exposed.
Yes. Though I will say, I've seen a bunch of coach dads, and you can feel it in the air that this kid hates what's happening and is going to grow up to hate whatever sport. I remember going to a local park, and there was 2 little BMXer kids, and their dad would always be there. And the older one ripped, and the younger one was always behind the older one, and there was a lot of pressure on the little one to do this or do that or catch up. And I remember looking at his little face and just feeling really heartbroken about it, because I was like, this guy is gearing up to be like 10 years older and hate his dad and hate this shit and have so full of resentment, you know, like that sucks. But that's not necessarily what we're talking about.
And we're
It
not
is part of it.
You know, we've brought up specifically because Revive Skateboards is a public thing.
Yeah.
And it's in the public eye.
Right.
You know, that's why we feel free to bring up Revive Skateboards and say that we really hope that things are being done really well there.
Right.
And why wouldn't you hope that?
Right.
Why would we default to a negative position
Right.
outside of the knowledge that shifting a brand,
Yeah.
a brand of what? A brand of Google ad platforming media
Right.
into child star stuff.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous and slippery slope that a lot of people don't navigate well. And we
Right.
hope it's navigated well, but there's no, like, I saw a video that was like really, really spicy.
Yeah.
And I was really glad.
Yeah.
It was a tier list video that broke down like where the Revive skateboarders are now
Right.
and how they've shifted into gaming channels mostly,
Yeah.
or like bottle flipping channels.
Right.
You know,
Or fingerboarding.
It's
or
fine.
Vlogging. Yeah.
what I mean, it's
Yeah,
fine.
Right.
You
No, I
know,
get it. Yeah. People want to watch that.
they've shifted into other areas to provide Google with a platform for monetized content. This is the business, right?
Right.
Because Revive, I don't know the business of the YouTube sphere, but this tier list was going through all these things and saved kind of for last the head honcho at Revive, Andy Schrock,
Right.
and really, really tore into him
Sure.
super hard and said, this is the saddest, darkest thing on the planet. This guy has capitalized on turning his skateboarding channel into a my kid skateboarding channel.
Yeah.
And then, to be fair to that, YouTube, by the way, that YouTube video disappeared.
Right.
And I think that the person who made that video, I think they did a good job. I think it's important for there to be vibrant critique.
Yep.
And I think that the opinion that's dark and nasty is not a terrible opinion. I think we should handle opinions for what they are.
Yeah.
People aren't telling you what to think.
Yeah.
They're telling you what they think.
Right.
And that should be a component in you developing what you think.
Yeah.
So there ought to be classes taught to kids on how to handle listening to people's views and opinions.
Literally.
I have a different kind of view on this, which is why, sure, I like to think that this could be done well,
Yeah.
and I would love to find out, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd love to find out that it is being done well.
Right.
That would be dope.
When you say done well, what do you mean?
Just like a wellness check
Yeah.
on Andy Schrock's kid.
But what would that, what, like,
You know?
if you could have all the information and it all turned out that it was going well, what kind of things would you want on that tick list?
All right. One thing is I'd love it if people who make their kids into child stars
Yeah.
don't spend all the money
Right.
on their own stuff.
Sure.
If they set their kid up with some, and I have no idea how to,
Yeah.
but set their kid up with some sort of a system of long-term, not just money,
Right.
but like good, useful
resource management.
Resources for their life.
Yes.
In the long term.
Yeah. So when they turn 25, they've got like $15 million in a trust fund somewhere that's going to pay for their college or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not to begrudge the parents of a child star that, like, you know, setting up a nice household and like, you know, spending money on raising the kid and the other kids and all that stuff.
Right.
But like, there ought to be a nice slush fund.
Yeah.
Financially.
Right.
Every now and then you hear, not every now and then, almost every single now and then you hear about a child star and their parents. Not only do the parents spend all the money.
Oh, yeah.
But then when it comes time that that kid is old enough to make decisions and doesn't want to do the stuff anymore.
Right.
Boom, they're in a conservatorship.
I know, dude. Yeah.
And then they're forced into it. And usually they're in a conservatorship because they've lost their mental health.
Yeah.
And they've had drug problems coping with fame in the first.
Yeah.
I'm not like meaning to put this on.
No.
I'm not meaning to put this on Andy Schrock at all. You know, but this is
right.
And this is what we think of when we think of these things. And it's like, oh, you know, skateboarding. You know, we don't have a lot of talking about this going on.
Right.
And this is the kind of talking that we do here at CapmLew podcast.
Yeah, come on. Think about Britney Spears, dude.
I don't want to.
Did you follow that at all? That one
did.
sucked, dude.
She's not the only person who got stuck in a conservatorship.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of that, too.
There are a lot of them that get stuck that way, and even adults have that happen to them. I think it's a danger for even some of the big boys nowadays.
Yeah, you got to be really careful. You got to make sure your agent's good and all that jazz. I'm sure.
Well, like,
I don't know anything about
There's a really famous person. I don't know if you've heard of him. It's Kanye West.
I've never heard of him ever.
Yeah, and one of the things that you worry about is when people are struggling with mental health issues, are they going to lose their basic liberties?
Yeah.
Does a famous person have the right to be batshit crazy?
Yeah.
Without losing their fundamental civil liberties? It's probably really, I'm way beyond my depth.
Yes.
But I think this year that we're going to do more learning about this as we go.
Right.
Now, the last time I talked about this was during that summer when we were joking around with YouTube.
Yeah.
And I wound up getting booted from the indoor park.
Right.
By a Revive rider.
Yeah.
Who had a chip on his shoulder about, he had the desk.
Yeah.
And I was in danger of being trespassed just going to the indoor park for a birthday party.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm a very kid-safe person.
Yeah.
And it was painfully ironic to me getting booted from going to a kid's birthday party.
Yeah.
Because I disrespected Revive. I hope that what we did today doesn't count as, whoa, hang on. This recording got paused. Well, that's very interesting. We got paused at 25 minutes. So we're
just going to... how long we are on the...
Oh, yeah. Can we tell? Hey, could one of you guys who are watching let us know how long we've been going?
Can I do it? We're about 38 minutes now. Dang,
well, that's fine.
Sucks,
well, we've lost 13 minutes of our audio for reasons unbeknownst.
Right.
It could be the warmth of our contact charger.
You think
I noticed that sometimes it warms up and we lose that. But a quick recap is that as much as we wish well for the child stars, because it's a thing, we have it now, it's a cultural feature. Thank you, Tyler Cecil, for letting us know.
Appreciate you, bud.
As much as we wish well for them, we have concerns about watching child stardom be the pivot point of one of the largest YouTube, because this is our life now. Like, we're in this, like, all of the kids are brain soaked in the social media and in the content media.
Yes.
What is it? It's YouTube, it's TikTok, it's Instagram. They're the big ones.
Yes.
I think those three probably represent the lion's share of what the kids are soaked in. And these kids are, in just a minute, going to be grown-ups.
Yes.
And so there's no way that we get to move forward as a people in skateboarding without taking into account the importance of these things.
Right.
And when we see when we see a huge concern like Revive Skateboards make a pivot
Yeah.
into basically employing
Right.
a child star
Yes.
who is, the child of the main. You look at that, and this is a #1 selling board brand. I mean, this would be a great article series in Thrasher.
I know.
Like, Thrasher should do Jankum,
Right.
or Janecum.
My
They
God.
should
Oh my
they
gosh.
should do articles on how to do your kid's a YouTuber right.
Right.
Not just immediately assume that everyone's going to do it wrong, even though almost everyone so far has.
Yes.
But to say, how do you do it right? I would like to sit down with Andy Schrock and ask him and say, hey, give us a primer
Yeah.
on how can people do this.
Right.
I'm kind of willing to assume that Andy's doing it right.
Yeah.
Is that,
No, I think.
am I naive?
I just watched like 15 seconds of their newest video, and it galls me how much I like the guy. He seems so friendly and
There you
gentle and
go.
kind, and his kid seems like such a great kid.
There
You know
you
what I
go.
mean? Like
wouldn't it be
literally.
Wouldn't it be sick if really Andy could sort of speak to all of the dads and the moms who are putting their kids into this
Right.
stuff?
Right.
I think that would be super sick. Not that I think that Andy would come on the podcast.
That'd be so cool.
There's been a distance because I'm so provocative.
Sure.
I really have angered the big boys.
Yeah.
They go by boys. Almost everything they do, they put boys behind it.
Well,
It's
they
nuts.
act like them, so.
It's nuts. Well, I'm a boy. I act like
Yeah.
a boy.
I know. I like it. I like calling people boys. Like, what's up, boys? I love
There's
that.
only kids and big kids, and I'm a kid.
Yes.
You're a kid. We're all kids. They're kids.
Yes.
I've stepped on toes, and I honestly, I don't know, dude. Even when I've gone further than I really think I should have, maybe used more profanity than I would have,
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't really take any of it back.
I know.
I think that the skateboarding culture, I think all the cultures
Right.
have been largely garbage.
Right.
That when they flatten it out and they create this lore,
Yeah.
from Craig Stasic all the way back in the 70s,
Yeah.
they flatten it out into a narrative that
Yes.
really isn't a fit for everyone.
Yeah.
And they made real good money
Yes.
and wasted it.
Yeah.
And they made less than they could have.
Yes.
By the history of skateboard media is a fascinating thing. We're in a new chapter. We're 10 years into the YouTubers being skateboard media. The
Yeah,
TikTok,
right.
YouTube, Instagram have destroyed the continuity of that narrative.
Yes.
Now it's a kaleidoscope,
Yes.
and you can like TikTok's algorithm learned me and has fed me just tons and tons of inspiring fat old guys who
Yes.
are in skateboarding
Yes.
doing fat old guy stuff.
Right.
Grandpas and
Yeah.
dads who are, I'm 36 years old and I'm fat. And when
Yeah.
I jump on this skateboard, I forget about all of that. And that was one of them
That's
on my
awesome.
TikTok today as I was loading up my brain. And this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is a keeper. But along with it comes, well, all right, how do we keep there from being horrible, damaging? Allegations are not proof.
No.
And innocence before conviction of guilt is essential.
Yes.
But allegations are damaging.
They are.
They really hurt everybody.
Right.
Not the okay. and it's not the allegations, but it's the fact that we all understand that if that didn't happen, something like it definitely did.
Right.
Somewhere else with someone else.
Right.
And it'd be great for everyone to make it harder
Yes.
for that kind of stuff that's in that sort of allegation to happen.
Right.
The stories of child stardom, are just filled with tales of destruction and woe.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's talk about how to do it right.
Yes.
Let's talk about it not being creepy or exploitative or opportunistic, and not being a valley of devastation.
Well, I will say this about Andy Schrock. it seems like he would be set up really well to do this well because he already made his bajillion dollars through Revive. Though, so it would assuage his desire to make a bunch of money through his kid. But I will say this, it does appear that he started starring his kid once Revive's views dropped down. He has like 5 million subscribers, but his last video with his kid has under 100,000 views.
That's very few for Revive. Back when they were doing 8 million views or 3 million views.
Exactly.
What does a video make if it gets 3 million views?
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. What? I'm curious about that. I don't believe in these looking up someone's worth. Like how much money they have online. Right. I don't think any of that's really reliable.
Right.
But like, what's the deal with the drug-like effect of, I made a 10-minute video. It took me an hour and a half, 2 hours to edit, and I got how much money?
This is a huge range. Okay. You can expect to make up to $6 per 1,000 views. This means that your estimated earnings would be between $1,200 to $6,000 for every million views. So it's actually not that much money.
Well, let's call it $3,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Per million.
So $9,000.
I guess that's kind of crazy. If you did a video every day,
and they did. So do 9,000 times 3 days a week. So you got winners.
Yes.
3 days a week at $9,000 a pop. That's at the low middle.
Times 3, so that's 27 grand times 4 for
4 weeks. Yeah. 27.
Ooh, that's 108 grand.
It's 108 grand in a month.
That is a lot of money.
Of course, you're not going to make that every month, but you might make that every month for a year or two.
Which is pretty wild, dude.
So.
But that's still, well, I guess that would bump you over $1 million for, yeah, that would be a lot.
You're going to owe a lot of taxes.
Yeah, I don't know.
You make $1 million, you're probably looking at a $600,000 a year. It's not really mad money. Feels like mad money.
Yeah.
That's not. I mean, maybe you can, I think it would take a lot of wisdom to handle, because like we're doing media and we might catch some virality, or maybe even we might establish a listenership.
Yeah.
And if we did, maybe we would see some years during which we saw, I don't know, like something beyond subsistence level income.
Yeah, no, that would be. Well, and here's the other thing. We've just calculated YouTube. If he was selling, he sold a crap ton of boards as well.
Okay.
And t-shirts and shirts.
So merchandising. So go ahead and add. Okay, so then, you're making more than $1 million in a year where you're getting 3 million views. And he's had 8 million views on things. He's
and that's
had
just
10
YouTube.
Views,
right. So he could have been doing up to somewhere between $1 and $5 million a year.
Okay, let's say like you're looking at $5 million years, and then it begins to decline.
Yes. And
you find that the videos that do well are the ones that have my little son in them.
Yes.
And again, I think it would do us all really well before we even go another step to reiterate, to say again that we shouldn't just assume it's being done badly, even though I can't imagine how it's done well. I'm honestly curious how parents, like think of Ryan Sheckler, and he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
He's like a really...
Yeah, Ryan seems cool.
He's a super, super nice person.
Yeah.
Like, you get around him and he just has a really chill vibe. And you think of, like, he came through the rigors of that famous childhood. Or, who else was forced into it? Tattoos all over him.
Oh,
Nigel Houston.
Yeah.
Nigel Houston was forced into it, too.
Yeah.
And he's had to, there are a lot of people who might be able to speak to this about how to do this well, and I just don't see media that is offering any discussion of, hey, man, like, it's a media generation.
Right.
And kids are having to figure this out for themselves.
Right.
And then parents who get their kids into it are having to either figure it out or just not figure it out and do it anyway.
Right.
And it would be good for a conversation to be started.
Well, and like, take this Andy Schrock thing. He starts putting his kid in when his views start to decline. So you can see that two ways. One way, and maybe the easier way to see it, would be like, this is he's really taking advantage of his kid. This is kind of dark. But another
Okay.
person could make an argument if you wanted to steal man Andy's argument. It might be, well, he's a robust entrepreneur. He's just trying to do what it takes to make money for his family and maybe set his kids up so that they don't have to pay for college.
Right.
You know, like, I don't know.
And we don't know, and to
Right.
some extent, it's not our business.
Exactly, right.
Except that it's public.
Yeah, so it kind of...
It's public,
right.
and we're all watching it happen. And
Right.
I'm getting to an age, going on 50 next May, that I'm tired of the damage that it does to all of us
Right.
when evil increases in the land.
I know, right.
Okay.
I know. Here we go.
I'm
Yeah,
tired
no, I
of
get
the.
it.
I'm tired of the how much of a
Right.
deep bummer it is
Right.
to see another person
Right.
crashed and burned on the rocks of having been made famous as a child,
Right.
and then trying to navigate into adulthood from that.
Right.
But I hold out hope that if anyone's going to get it right, it will be a sweet, cool,
I
and
know.
not even get it right.
Yeah.
If anyone's going to be trying to do it right,
Right.
it's going to be someone like an Andy Schrock.
Which is cool. That's all. I really hope so. I mean, I have high hopes for the guy. He seems like such a nice guy. It would break my heart to learn that it was a scandal and horrible. You know?
It's not.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
all.
No.
I think it's very unlikely, and I think it's good for us to have
Right.
a minute where we're
Right.
not just garbage picking,
Yeah.
doing yellow journalism
Yeah,
and
right.
like picking the lowest common denominator.
Right, yeah,
like
yeah.
we could hope for the best here.
Right.
And
And maybe
And-
give somebody the benefit of the doubt every once in a while. That's not bad.
what if we interviewed one of these coach dads or coach moms,
Yeah.
and they came on and said, "I don't think I am doing it right."
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah. Like, what if they said, "I don't think I'm doing it right. I don't think anyone knows how to do it right, but
Right.
here's what I'm trying.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Here are 3 areas I see are very important."
Yeah.
One is the finances are always an important part. The
Right.
other one is the development of not just a private life,
Right.
but the public persona is not the whole person.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of people who kind of go into character and come out of character when they get off, you know? Like, I don't think that's necessarily bad. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
When I was making content with Fickle
Yeah.
skateboards and going out on the road, what I noticed was, and I didn't make a lot of media. I just did Facebook Lives and the odd YouTube video here and there. I never really got into it.
Right.
What I recognized was, in order to do this, I'm going to have to make sure that my public persona is a selection from my real person.
Yes.
I didn't want to create a public persona that like puts on a fake voice.
Yeah, I don't think that... I never found that to be true about you.
I follow a motorcycle channel
Yeah.
or two where the guys, "Hey, what's up? Like that. Like they do that,
Right,
and I
right.
get it.
Yeah.
That's not their normal thing, but they
Right.
get on there and they're like, "Hey, what's up, weirdos?"
Yeah,
and
right.
they do that.
I kind of like it.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do or don't enjoy that media to a certain extent, depending on my own preferences. But I recognize that the crafting of a public persona is necessary, and it has to be a subcategory
Right.
of the whole person. And it's easiest for me,
Right.
for my public persona,
Yeah.
to be comprised of authentic parts of me.
Yeah.
So,
I know, right?
because that's easier to maintain.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
more portable. I don't have to do an acting exercise
Yeah.
to get into that persona. So I could go on my motorcycle and I could show up at the Tampa Pro, and when the Jenkem guys turn to me and they say something to me, I can respond from who I really am and where I'm really at.
Right.
And now would be a good time for me to apologize to the Jenkem guys who asked me, who told me something, and then I said something to them. But I don't want to apologize. I
Yes.
still stand behind it.
Right. Because it was completely in character of the thing that they had said that you were like.
They
which
said I was the
hilarious.
David Allen Coe of skateboarding,
Right.
and it was a mistake.
Yeah. Because you just acted just like yourself, which is similar to David Allen. Coe. And they were like, oh.
Such a weird thing, man.
Yeah. I hope
'cause
those guys are doing well today.
I'm a God-fearing man, and I'm full of opinions and minor and major resentments that I do and don't regret. And that swirl is just coming at you like
Yeah.
a tornado.
Let me ask you this. This, like, being an actor versus being authentic. A lot of people are, they get on YouTube and they're an actor. How does that fit in? How does that conjunct with our conversation about kids? Are you saying that because kids don't really have that ability?
Because kids are forming who they are. I'm not an expert in childhood development, but I've raised 3 men out of children. And I've been part of the recovery life of several men.
Yeah.
And what I have come to think is that during those tender years, being a public person, is, it makes it hard for it's hard for a child to differentiate between the public persona and who they really are.
That's really fascinating.
And what I've seen, and this is just me, what I've seen is that they enter adulthood without a well-grounded and well-developed sense of who they are.
Right.
They know very well what they're supposed to be like for the camera.
Yep.
But the difference between the camera and real life is this is me groping around relatively in the dark about it.
Yeah.
But that's serious. And I think that probably there are experts out there who would be kind of, he's onto it.
Yeah, right. It's a little dirty, but it's there.
Yeah. It's a scroungy take on early childhood development. I think that in general, it is not a good move for a child to be a public person.
Yeah.
I think that's really, I think it's well evidenced even to the lay person that is not a great start for most children.
Yeah.
And so I've been looking around for years and I've been finding plenty of people who are willing to knife and pitchfork and torches outside the castle and yell, "Oh, you're making all this money and we hate you," that. And, and then I ran across that tier list, which was a humorous and profane tier list.
So funny.
But was very precious to me because this person was like, "It really bothers me to see Andy Schrock using his kid at the declining point of his company's, this YouTube creation, using his kid to keep the views that he was losing because of he didn't say this, but I see it as a normal ebb and flow of human interest.
Yes.
Fads, trends, they come, they go. So the YouTuber stuff, the kid was a local. The video went viral, caused a lot of trouble. Oh, yeah. So Jeff Wiseman is commenting, caused a lot of trouble for the dad was banned for life.
Oh, that sucks.
Save face. Kid was a ripper. Just wasn't having that vert ramp. Personally, there's a thin line between trying to get a child to face their fears and abuse. Just saying.
No, absolutely. Well,
man, Jeff Wiseman, thanks for your comment. That is actually another problem is short form clip media. Is really tricky.
You're not getting the full story for sure. Because I can imagine as a dad, you're trying to help your kid, you love your kid, you got him up. I mean, it was a little savage. The kid was standing up, as I recall, and he just bumped him into the transition. But kids do that all the time. It's like a slide, so it's like, man, you take it out of context. That's a rough one.
Another great one is that we get this short form media, we get the juicy bit, and then we're basically told what to think about it.
Yes.
By the social nature of the media.
Yes.
And that's why I look at this and I'm like, best possible result from even starting a public conversation about such public things.
Yeah.
It's not off limits when you become a public person.
Right.
It's okay for people to adore you, but it's not okay for people to ask critical questions about what's going on.
Right.
No, sir. No.
Right.
No. If I've platformed myself, I've said I'm willing to be mocked, ridiculed, critiqued. I love how there's a group of guys in Indiana that used to make these supercuts of me pulling on my vape.
Dude, we should find those.
Dude, they're
that's
epic.
sick.
They're
Yes.
epic, and those guys hate me. You know, like they hate me
Yes.
in that skater way, which is actually fine. You know,
Right.
They hate me, and they think I'm an absolute kook.
Right.
And they made these kook cuts, and the more of them that someone was sending them to me because I'm like blocked by those guys,
Of course.
and I was like, I miss that.
Yeah. Yeah. I just missed the way you said China.
I miss it. Yeah, I do. Like they would make us. So the guy who sent them to me was like, "Oh, they're making these of you."
Right.
And I'm like, I remember I was making boards in my workshop, and I was like, go for it.
Dude,
Like, I'm ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like,
dude, what's that one? It was like the Onion or whatever, kind of.
oh, the Nut Daily.
Yeah, the Nut Daily.
The Nut
dude.
did a thing on me that was so funny. For
was
me,
so good.
none of you cretins are worthy of riding my creation.
And it was you like holding
Artisan
the board.
skateboard maker.
Yes.
I've been going through all my different models and
Yes.
doing YouTube videos
Yes.
of all the different models I make
Yes.
to sell boards.
Yes.
And the guy and it was so funny because guys like me take ourselves way too seriously. I'm not accusing myself of doing that, and we need fun poked at us. We need people to
Yeah.
make fun of us.
I wonder who did that. I want to meet the guy who runs that and just high five him. That was so good, dude. It was so like
was
it wasn't
healthy.
mean. It was good, dude. It was awesome.
And it was that we just watched through a Gifted Hater YouTube
yes.
on Steve Barra flashing hot over
Yes.
another guy who does satire, who held up a funny meme picture of Jagger Eaton during Jagger Eaton's thing,
Yes.
and I remember it as the kid's dad kicked him in the ass and he went off. I thought it was over the top when I watched it. If
Was
I'd
he
seen
standing on the lip? It's been a while since I've seen the video, but the little dudes.
I remember seeing the dad berating him, and I remember seeing the dad giving him the boot over the edge. And I would have had a big problem with that. And
Was there some berating that happened? Because my recollection is there wasn't. He was just up there with his kid.
I saw some berating in my foggy recollection.
Yeah, perhaps
but
so.
Berating or not, man, you just don't kick a kid off of a ramp. That's
Sure.
like I would have been.
Yeah.
I'm not a safe person to people who want to give their kid a kick and off the side of the ramp. I've been with people who do that, but they haven't done it in front of me.
Right.
I watched a kid, in my opinion, get ruined by a dad the dad was involved with drugs. The dad was involved with super hardcore skate culture.
Yeah.
And I watched the dad push the kid, and the kid was very talented. These kids they tend to really perform well.
They rip.
But I'm like, at what cost?
Yes. What price?
Are they, as Luke would say, driving it to refusal?
Are we driving it to refusal?
We may be driving it to refusal.
Yes. Yes.
And in those cases, I can kind of be counted on to offer a voice of community involvement.
Yes.
But a lot of that stuff doesn't happen when I'm around. And lately, I haven't been around a lot.
Yeah, it's fine.
I kind of stepped out of going to stuff when it became weird for me to be at things.
Yeah.
Because I was a little bit controversial.
Yeah.
And by weird, I mean, I don't just go to things that have people who've mobilized violence against any threat to their legacy. So since my city is largely locked down under a regime, actually that might not be true now. I have people reach out to me who say that it's changed.
Yeah, maybe so.
Well, we are the change we want to see in the world.
Oh my gosh, dude. Don't
Every
get me
time,
started.
every time we show up at your skate park that's clotted full of scooter kids,
Yes.
and we begin to tell the scooter kids, no, that was cool.
Yeah, right.
And you're cool.
Yes.
Yeah, we're being the change we want to see in the world.
That's true, dude. It's so funny.
Well, I think we did it. I think we spent about 45 minutes of beginning to touch on this, but this will be waves.
Yeah, we'll wait it.
This is going to be a topic of exploration, and if we can ever get Andy Schrock to come on the show, we'll have to figure out how he sits in here.
Yeah, I don't.
It would be a big logistical thing.
Maybe on my lap or something. I don't mean that in a weird way.
No, yeah, that would be almost all the room we have.
Maybe
what we would do is
it.
we'd turn the camera so it faces this way.
Yeah.
or something like that.
Or we do it down in the basement.
It would be, we do it in the workshop. Yes. Yesterday, Luke and I went downstairs and cleaned out my workshop.
Yes.
Yes. Very happy about that.
Me too. We did good work. Oh, we found it.
Was good.
Jeff
Thanks,
Weissman
Jeff,
found it.
for finding that. I think this is a cool thing that we're talking about it. Also,
dude, this is like on the news.
yeah, it was on the news. It was a big deal. Guy kicked his kid down a 12-foot ramp.
Oh yeah, dude, he's standing up. He's totally standing up, and his board was there.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks. All right.
And if the kid had fallen down and caught a foot on his board, and
stop.
or, rip a hip joint out of socket or bash his face and his teeth, and that's jail time. Yeah. That's like jail time. It's tough.
That sucks, dude.
And we're not doing a good enough job talking about these things in a way that's decent.
Yeah.
I think that's why that tier list got pulled down.
Yeah.
I think that guy had a sense of decency about it, and I think he pulled it down because he's a thinker. I might have a little bit more inside track on that.
Yeah.
And I think that was a good move to pull it down.
Yeah.
And I'm happy not to pull this down, because what we're saying is, hey, you know what? We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna maybe not assume the best,
right?
But we're gonna be hopeful.
Yeah, maybe try to give
hopeful that this can be done well.
Yeah.
And maybe by asking, we might increase the chance that people will think it through.
Yes.
And get it done well.
Yes. I will say, I'd like to just circle back quickly about that comment you just made about kids' development and how they would develop differently if they developed in front of a camera for a YouTube audience.
Yeah.
Because I've kind of been holding like, no, I think that if you had your kid on there, you did it right, it would probably be okay. But man, that one is that's a real sticking point. That's going to be a heavy friction point for me, because I think an argument could be made that even if you did it well and set up trust funds and really took care of your kid's finances, that there would be some inherent damage done by having your kid grow up in front of a camera. You know what I mean? Like that maybe couldn't be stopped, or that's an interesting thought. I've never had that idea before. That's a really good take, I think.
Luke, what you just expressed may well be the final word on it.
Yeah, I've been trying to find a landing spot. I feel like
it might wind up being the case that no,
you can't.
This is almost never good, to the extent that you should never do it.
Right.
Don't. There's a free will argument to be made on behalf of a child.
Right.
That being famous, and who does it really benefit? And what are the risks?
Right.
When it comes to making a child famous, you are risking all of the anecdotally well-known consequences.
Yeah.
We know that fame ruins kids.
Right.
Because we have watched it ruin kids.
Right.
And we also know that the people in charge of fame are well known for not having kids' best at mind.
Yeah.
But with this kind of media, you're not working with agencies. You're not going. It's not LA. It's not Hollywood. It's just parents and kids.
Yeah.
Which is a dicey thing still.
Yeah.
Dude, I know.
So
it's dicey, and it is criticable.
Right.
And that means it is something that ought to experience critique.
Yes.
There ought to be incisive, cutting speech and thought around this issue, and there just isn't. There's splashy attacks.
Yeah.
But I do think it's worth saying to anyone who does this with their kid, I would say, hey, I noticed that you decided to make your kid super famous.
Right.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
Like, how's that going? We'll check in 20 years and see what all these documentaries that are being made. I
know, dude.
Your kid is going to wind up being you look at like Shia LaBeouf and Joaquin Phoenix and don't get me started on the Macaulay Culkins and the Corey Feldmans and all this stuff and the other Corey who didn't live, and like you get and that's not to say I'm painting everyone with the brush of the absolute worst things that can happen to kids, except that the absolute worst things that can happen to kids happen so much, and the
Right.
people who do them have so much cover.
Right.
And it's only through conversations like these
Right.
so far that you're going to have an increase
Yeah.
in awareness and in inquiry
Yeah.
and any sort of accountability and supervision.
Yeah.
And Thrasher isn't running an article like that.
No.
I don't think it's even on their radar. Jenkum,
Yeah.
barely. They get a chance to do something redemptive and they write a puff piece.
Oofed.
I can't stand it because
I
they
know.
could do so much good and they'll almost do it.
I know.
They'll write something about harassment in skateboarding
Yeah.
and they'll just do so much less than they could have. They should have gone the full way.
I know.
Then you'll see like someone on an independent YouTuber with a small following will put up a video that just goes, I think it's disgusting
Yeah.
that this person did this with their kid, and I think it's awful and I think it's wrong, and I may come out agreeing with that.
Right.
And then it's pulled down.
Right.
And I loved the existence of that video,
Yes.
that tier list video.
Yeah.
I don't share the same proclivity for, the profanity and like that. I'm far too profane already.
Yes.
But what I loved was it was finally someone talking about something.
Yeah, at least
that's
something.
so important.
Right. I
Yeah.
know, dude. I know. What about I'm thinking right now, like I've seen on Instagram, people will mic up their toddlers like on the ski slope when they're teaching them how to ski. And it is the most entertaining, sweet, cute, fun, just heartwarming thing ever.
Can you see the kid's face?
It's usually
Not
geared
really.
up. And I don't think the kid knows that they're necessarily being filmed and recorded, which that comes with its own ethical dilemmas, I think. But in some ways that would be different because the kid is
What's so funny is you're not making a child. We both know this account.
yeah.
This is an account where the kids are all wearing battle gear on the
Yeah.
ski slopes.
Right.
They're mic'd up and they're talking to each other,
Right. Or themselves.
and you
Yeah.
don't know who this kid is,
Right. And
and it's epic.
that would go around this child development problem that we've identified, but it just seems like the entire thing is just so full of pitfalls. You just got to be so careful. It would be hard, almost nearly impossible to do in a way that a kid isn't damaged in some ways.
Well, here's the facts.
God.
Kids are going to do media.
Yeah.
Children are going to be in our media. They always have been.
Right.
And so the fact is that there are going to be kids who love posting their stuff.
You're right.
These kids ought to be under the care of parents.
Yeah.
Or, man, I think about coming from New York in the 90s and these skate shop owners who even today are considered pillars of the community,
Right.
who contributed to delinquency in ways they should be imprisoned for.
Yeah.
Like getting kids of a young age to be involved with things they should never ought have ever done. This stuff is on documentaries. This is public.
Right.
And these guys still get to be king of town in New York
Right.
City.
Right.
And it's disgusting.
Yeah.
How do we as a skateboarding community, I think by talking about it is like one of the ways that we make it harder for bad things to happen.
Yeah.
And we create a better culture of accountability for when it does.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be child stars and there are going to be children involved in skateboarding media.
Yeah.
The kids themselves want to do it.
Yeah.
So let's not like drop the ball
Yeah.
on how do we even
Right. I know.
with this, because it's gonna be the way it is.
I know.
And I don't think that we should encroach on people's freedom to make decisions, but we ought to be able to ask the hard questions of like, can a person say, I think this is really gross that your viewership went down and then you commodified
Yeah.
a child,
Right.
and then you publicized their young life.
Right.
A person should be able to say that. They
Yeah.
could say it in a way that's civil, and that's one of the things that maybe that
Yeah.
the YouTube was not civil. It was profane. It was
Right.
gross. It was sexually suggestive
Right. On purpose.
on purpose.
Right.
He's a transgressive
Yeah.
comedian.
Right. And it
Which
was
is-
pretty much totally hilarious. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, it was.
It just shows my own blah, blah. Anyway, yes.
It was for adult consumption. It was a good video,
Yeah.
and I think that he really hit on a nerve there that
Yeah.
was really important.
Yes.
I totally think it speaks well of that YouTuber that he took down the video.
Yeah.
I would love to see a redo on that.
Yeah.
except that might be what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think maybe instead of wanting that guy to do it,
Right.
we'll take our chance to have this conversation ourselves.
Right.
I think that's been my mistake in life, is as much as I have created alternatives to the mainstream, I didn't like board brands. I didn't like board brands that are like, do 100 takes to get one trick and then pretend that's what skateboarding is.
Right.
So I started a board brand with a team that would come out and skate with you for a week and do lo-fi skateboarding with you. And it was a good board brand.
Right.
And then I didn't like board brands that had cheap junk wood from far-flung factories made by people who didn't care how it rode.
Right.
Or from factories that pretended to be core.
Right.
But as soon as you cared about quality, they accuse you of not being a real skateboarder.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
And so I started making skateboards myself, a thing that they told me I would never be able to do.
Right, it's impossible.
And then I took that and open sourced it. And so I didn't just critique the way it was, I created alternatives.
Right.
Maybe that's what we're doing now.
Right.
Is we're creating an alternative in media
Right.
that's not going to softball question, a great way not to ever be on the 9 Club is to criticize the 9 Club. So let's take care of it.
Okay.
I've never seen a bigger bunch of hero worshipping softball question, superficial treatment of what's really going on in skateboarding than the 9 Club. There, I did it.
Yeah.
There, I did it.
Are we canceled down? Is this what it feels like? I feel good.
I do too. I do. I think I could get used to this.
Yeah, this is nice. I like it in here. What if Andy Schrock sat down and was like, listen, I totally hear what you guys are saying. I've thought about this. I have all the financial set up. I have my kid go to a therapist 2 times a week, and we go together and we talk about what's happening. I don't know, like how. Like,
that's actually a good idea.
Like, how could you do it? Like, I'm just wondering. Like, if you totally gave him the benefit of the doubt.
You know what would warm my heart?
Go ahead.
Is if a person, I mean, we've spoken about Andy Schrock, but what if a person said, hey, look, here's what the deal is. My wife's brother, his uncle.
Yes.
Or her uncle.
Right.
And my brother, uncle on the other side, have teamed up to keep me accountable.
Yeah.
Not to objectify my kid.
Dude, I would cry tears of joy. That
I
would be so sick, dude.
Or if they said like, yeah, I've got a squad of 5 families that come around our family and talk to me about how our kids do. If they had, what we're talking about is not so much technical mechanisms or industry mechanisms, but the actual human community of families.
Yes. And some accountability.
That's the kind of thing that would warm my heart. Because I'll tell you this, I don't have a little kid right now. My kids are all grown men.
Lurge.
They're lurge. But that's what I had around me, just raising kids.
Yeah.
Around me, I had people in my life who they knew me, and they had the place in my life where they could put their hand on my shoulder and say, hey, stop.
Yep.
You're not doing it right.
Yep.
Even if they didn't know how to do it right, I always have kept people in my life who could stop me on a dime.
Right.
Because I learned that from Jesus and the scripture.
Right.
And that's what I learned there, is that you have to have people in your life who can stop you.
Right.
And if I had a person come in and say, look, man, we're inventing the wheel.
Yep.
This kids being famous thing is brand new.
Yep.
And we're doing it.
Yep.
We kind of, this is what's happening. We're doing it. And we don't know that we're doing it right, but we've got people around us. I think that might be the number one, not just you, not just your wife, not just your husband, but people around you who are gathered around the health of that kid. They used to have godparents.
Yeah.
They probably, they still have godparents.
Somewhere.
Are you anyone's godparent?
I'm not, but I think I have some.
We've got some godparent style stuff where, like, if we die in a terrible car accident, you got to take care of our kids.
Yeah.
And that's a special kind of place in a kid's life. You're supposed to pay attention to. I need to step up my game on those relationships.
Come on, man. Are you somebody's?
I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I got a number of relationships like that are not quite official.
Right.
One of them, they're writing up a will, and maybe that sort of thing is the best first move.
Yeah.
I've got buddies. They come over. We work on motorcycles together, and those guys try to keep my head straight. And they watch the videos, and they track this, and they see how I'm behaving. Maybe that's what could keep a person from.
Right.
You know, the guy who kicked his kid off a ramp. I have empathy for that person.
Yeah.
What you're looking at there is a culmination of probably a longer period of time during which that man lost perspective.
Yes.
And wound up doing something super regrettable.
Would you feel the same way if, like John Wayne style, he's teaching his kid how to swim and he threw him in a pond?
No, I mean, it depends.
I guess that would be
it
different.
Depends.
Because you could...
Like, if you told your kid, oh, I'm going to throw you in the water.
Yeah.
And the kid's like, no. And you, like, grab him and, like, throw him in the water. I mean, that kind of thing does get done. I don't approve of that. I don't know that I would be cool with that. I haven't been there for that.
Yeah.
I haven't. But I've been like, no, I don't like when people teach their kids to swim by terrifying them and throwing them in the water.
Yes.
I'm glad when a kid turns out into a great adult and has, like, my daddy used to stories. I like that.
I have a lot of friends whose dads were gnarly like that, and they turned into pretty good people. Yeah, I'm thinking of one in particular. His dad was like a cowboy, and he would do cowboy stuff, and it was like kind of intense and gnarly. And that's a style of parenting. I think you got to be careful. It's much more old school, but it can result in really great, well-rounded people. You just got to. The real question is, does your kid know that you love them and care about them deeply? You know what I mean? Like,
and that's the problem. I know a guy who his dad wanted to teach him how to drive a race car, and so he strapped 3 kilos of Colombian Bam Bam.
Oh my gosh!
And he put a live jaguar in the car. You know,
that's not a true story.
And he didn't turn out okay. He came out thinking, if you're not first, you're last.
Yeah, right. Man. Yeah, with kids named Walker, Texas Ranger.
Walker and Texas Ranger.
TR
TRs
for
being
short.
Yeah. But those kids, if you step to them, they'd be like a spider monkey.
Yeah,
they were all hopped up on Mountain Dew.
Right? Yeah, dude. They got the uncle with the leg and just smells something awful. I get it, dude.
That's their granddad, Chip.
Yeah, Chip.
He had a beard.
Yeah.
We need that. He had a beard from Ricky Bobby. We need that on our soundboard.
Yes, dude.
We do.
He had a beard.
He had a beard. He was a man.
Oh my gosh. Maybe, you know what I liked? We kind of hit on this. Instead of, because we've been talking kind of more in binary terms, like how do you do this right versus how do you do it wrong? But really, maybe a good question would be, how do you do this better? You know,
has it ever been done in a way that's not
the worst,
ruinous?
Yeah, right.
Has it ever been done in a way that could be said was not desperately perilous, really dangerous? Because taking the risk, okay?
Yeah.
Taking the risk of danger,
yeah,
for your kid's development,
right?
You have to have a reason why, the benefit of that.
Right.
And when it comes to making your kid famous, the real benefit is money.
Yeah. Yeah.
What happens to your kid if you go and work a 9 to 9 at a factory? They don't have you around.
Right.
But if your kid is famous online, then they do have you around. There are arguments to be made.
Yeah.
But what if you could be normal? What if you could have a standard sort of non-famous life? These are questions for the parent who is not there yet.
Yes. Right.
Like, maybe we'll catch some people before they decide to make their kid famous.
Right.
I don't know. This podcast is a tiny, tiny little bump on the rump of the whole world.
It's little.
It's little.
It's little. L-I-L.
But like I said, this is not going to be a small podcast forever.
Well, I also would like to point out quickly, I don't want to convolute. We've talked about like skate dads or like coach dads, and we've also talked about media empire dads. It's much, much easier to do it right being like a coach dad. I've seen that done well.
Well, if all you're doing is taking your kid to the park and encouraging them to do what they want to do,
and buy more, that's sick.
We're talking about people who platform their kids on social media, and then begin to get like checks.
Well, think about Dijah and his dad, because his dad was kind of like a coach dad and sounded like kind of gnarly, and at least on the better end, you could call it super disciplined, and on the other end, you could call it gnarly. You know, and Nyjah turned into a person who probably makes $1 bajillion or has at some point, you know.
I think it's in the public record that Nyjah's dad's strategy was that his son would be sponsored and famous at breaking contest breaking contest records.
Yes.
And that's not just go for it, Jimmy.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that's not.
No.
That's not the same thing as
oh, what's up, guys? I got Ryder here with me.
Like the dad who shows up. Like I think of the best people in skateboarding are the dad who works a job, overweight, hard worked, takes his kids to the skate park and sits out there for hours on one of them folding chairs, reading a book.
That's so sick. Dude.
Because the dad is not a skateboarder.
Yeah.
The dad doesn't know I don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
But I know my kids love it, and I take them out to the thing.
Yeah.
And the dad is literally at the end of a person's life, their kids come around them, and the best report the kids can give on the performance of that parent is not my dad always had the answers to all my questions. It's not my dad always paid for everything.
Right.
It's that literally my dad was, quote, there for me.
Yeah.
Unquote.
Yes.
That is like being there for your kid takes no skill, almost no knowledge, almost no aptitudes.
Yeah.
It takes like a car with enough seats and a folding chair and a big old mug of your favorite beverage and a good book.
Yes.
And I'm happy that my dad sat in the waiting room of a smelly old school karate studio that smelled like feet.
Yes.
And read a book.
Yeah, it's so sick.
He didn't watch.
Yeah.
I never got pointers. Years and years, 5 or 6 years of my dad driving me and my brother to this old school karate studio.
Right.
And he never said, "Oh, I really think you need to pivot your hip differently."
Yeah, right.
He never did that.
Yeah.
He just took us there and took us home.
Yeah.
Until we were black belts and we were old enough to drive ourselves.
Yeah.
And then he was still there for us. They paid for it.
Yeah.
And it was expensive.
That really counts for something, dude. Really
I'm
does.
saying,
that's sick.
maybe if I could offer maybe a little bit of advice to parents who are doing skateboard stuff with their kids, just keep that going.
Yeah.
Just freaking drop them off. Don't become invested in their placement.
Right.
Drop them off. And
or
if they are good enough to get sponsored, I mean, go for it.
Yeah, or go to the park with your kids and maybe get a big ass, a 12-inch wide, 36-inch long cruiser for yourself and ride with your kids.
Could be.
If you wanted to.
Yeah.
And fully pad up and don't, get in there and throw some elbows because you might find that you really like it,
I'm not against that, but that distance where I do a thing, my parents support it, but it's not the thing they do.
That's fine.
That's an important part. At about 13 years old, a young person, especially boys, need to differentiate themselves and become independent of their parents. The problem is they can't drive.
Yeah.
In our society, it depends on freaking expensive wheels.
I know.
It's really tough.
It is,
to be a parent.
Yeah.
And it means grueling hours of taking this kid. One of the families I know, their daughter is in ballet.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then they need help with getting their kid to ballet, and so my wife will drive the kid to ballet.
Yeah.
And because we're close, we're friends,
Yeah.
And it's nice because our kids haven't needed to be driven to anything for years and years. It's been years since our kids need to be driven. And being there for a kid who's taking ballet, I mean, is she going to become a ballerina?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Right.
But it's awesome.
Yeah. No, for sure.
But a lot of mistakes can be made when you think you're supporting a kid, man. That's a great justification.
Yes.
For a lot of misbehavior. So
I have a friend whose dad used to take him to soccer and then come and watch every single one of his games. And then some point in the scenario, he got kicked from the games because he was bellowing. He's a blue collar just the best kind of person, bellowing, you know, encouragement to his kid. And they were like, "Oh, you're being too loud. You gotta go." And he would still come. He would just stand on the other side of the fence every time he was there. And it's like really impacted my friend deeply to know that his dad just had his freaking back. You know, that means so much. That goes so far.
It's massive.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
And I still have love for the dads who make mistakes.
Yeah, me too.
Because
man.
making mistakes is another. That's a part of parenting.
Yeah,
Parenting is tough, dude.
Yeah.
It's tough. And I think that whatever gets said about this has to be said with respect. Everybody has the best intentions.
Yes.
The problem with that in the public life is that behaviors wind up being judged.
Yep.
And they should be.
Yep.
Behaviors should be judged.
Right.
And I also don't think it's wrong or bad to turn to another person at the risk of altercations and say, "Hey man, I think you need to slow your roll." Just calmly say to someone, "I think you need to calm down, my friend.
Yep.
I am your friend. I'm giving you good advice. You may or may not take it. And no,
Right.
I'm not giving you an ultimatum."
Ultimatum.
I've watched people lose their cool and get violent toward people who say stuff like that. Dude, I don't even know. Honestly, right now, I don't even have a prepared response if I see someone hit a kid in public. It hasn't happened in front of me where I see someone abuse a child in public.
What are you gonna do? Yeah,
I hate it.
Yeah, me too.
I hate it. Like, you go to Kroger or Wegmans, and like
Wegmans.
And Wegmans is a freaking national institution. Peter Kane dog trainer.
Oh my gosh, dude! Wegmans.
Go to Wegmans and someone hits their kid.
Okay.
And like, what if it's like a Latina abuela and she hits a kid with a chancla?
Yeah, what you want to do, son?
You know you want to see someone get hit with a chancla.
I don't even know what that is, but I'm in.
Chancla's a flip-flop.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
You know?
Yeah.
What about if a lady throws a chancla at a misbehaving, you know, like preteen boy who's misbehaving and actually hits him from a distance?
That'd be sick.
Honestly,
I'm down. Dude.
It's a danger to the society, perhaps, but I might congratulate.
Yeah,
it's really tough.
It's nuanced.
I don't have
nuanced, man.
set up responses,
No.
and I'm not sure what I would do if I had a little kid who was a little ripper, and loved making videos, and then started to get money and traction on all that stuff. I don't know what I'd do.
That's a really hard. I think that we need to move out of the realm of like right and wrong and into the realm of like guiding principles and
I will say
better.
There is something fishy at best. There's something fishy at best if I'm running a YouTube empire providing Google with ad platforming,
right?
And then I have an industry critique about pretending that's a skateboard company. Selling Chinese boards with graphics on them. It's not rare. It's not wrong. It's ethically less.
Right.
That's what I think. I think that's a lower value skateboard company. And I don't think the fact that it makes money is a justification of its lower ethical content. And then the money begins to wane, and all of a sudden there's a financial advantage to platforming a child. I think that's I hope that there's aunts and uncles.
I know.
And I would love to say I bet there are. But I don't know. Until you know. Here's what we do know is that's what's going on. And maybe a YouTuber who did a joking tear video that wasn't kid safe in the first place.
I know, dude.
Which is not. I don't think that everything should be kid safe.
No, me neither.
I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it discounts the point. I think you raised a great question. And if skateboarding as a community, and if skateboarding media as an industry can't endure the rigors of this conversation, that's fine. We'll do it.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
That's fine. We'll do it. We're not mad.
No, absolutely.
We're not mad. We'll just be the alternative.
Yes.
And if that were to get us canceled, well, we already took care of that because we think the 9 Club is a bunch of softballs.
We're already there. Yeah, you can't kill a dead man, friends. We're already dead. Exactly.
That's right.
And I'm really struck by how important it is to have your guiding principles on lock, and because the way that we're engaging with this topic, this doesn't happen very much, but I think it's really important that it happens more, this is the way that these should be engaged thoughtfully and taking in the nuance and not really coming to really stark conclusions, at least not quickly. And it's good to have your guiding principles on lock, because what do you do when you are at the park and some guy pushes his kid down into the vert ramp? Because at that point, you're not going to have time to go back into your life and think these things through.
Right.
It's going to have to just be coming out of your mouth.
You already have to have laid the groundwork, so that you're not reacting, but you're responding according to organizing and guiding principles in your life. Hey, crack your Bible.
Yeah, come on now.
I'm saying, crack your Bible.
Right.
I don't know, man. Get your butt to church used to sound a lot better to me, but like American church culture is like a field of so much garbage.
It is.
But still, I'm like, I don't know, man. Get your butt to church.
Yeah.
These are not terrible ideas.
No,
they're rigorous. They're difficult. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to entrust yourself to a lot of what America is calling church nowadays. But if you got your Bible cracked, and you're digging, you're gonna find some good, challenging, encouraging things. Yeah. Well, you may hate it. That's okay.
That's fine too.
That's an authentic reaction to the man with the holes in his hands.
Yeah.
Lots of people hated him. You'll be in. It might not be good company, but you'll be in company.
Yeah.
Probably majority company. That's fine.
Yes.
But go deep.
Yeah.
I don't feel threatened or provoked by it, but the reality is this whole conversation to date has been taboo,
which is insane. What did we say today that was so horrible? Besides that scathing remark about the 9 Club, so scathing.
Yes.
It was so it was marrow deep. They were so mean.
Marrow deep.
Yeah, marrow deep. It was absolutely marrow deep.
We cut them deep.
Yeah, we cut them so deep.
Well, that's the beginning. We are going to return to this kind of topic, and probably this one specifically in the future.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be talking about things like this for years.
That's good to talk about.
Yeah.
And maybe Andy will reach out. That'd be so sick. I'd love to get coffee with him. That would be awesome. I'd really love to meet him. I care about him. I do. That's how I feel, man.
I like that, Luke.
Yeah.
I do.
And I'd love to fist bump his kid, too. Yeah. That'd be cool.
I tremble. I do. I tremble because I don't give quarter.
I know, dude.
I don't give quarter, and so anybody that tangles with me in some interview is not going to get softballs.
Yes.
And an interview can turn into a confessional real quick.
Yes.
When we behave publicly, we're publicly accountable for that behavior.
Yeah.
I say that with a bit of a shudder. But this is, well, that's another episode of the CapmLew podcast with your host, CapmLew, and co-captain
Luke.
And we are, as always, thankful for our sponsors. Life Skateboards. What did I say?
Be a lifer.
Be a lifer. Get a life skateboard.
Yes.
And we back and wish to promote all the maker-made skateboarding that's happening out there. Skateboard decks that are made by people who press them.
Yeah.
If you've got one near you, check them out.
Yeah.
It's better.
Or if you don't, you can order online, and it's as if it's down the street. Even more convenient in some ways. And
for now, there's lifeskateboard.com, singular skateboard, lifeskateboard.com. Check them out.
Yeah.
And then we also want to thank our gracious sponsors, people who have gone on Podbean.
Yeah.
Podbean, and have pledged support for what we hope will become a completely gigantic media empire with complete dominance over the infosphere.
Yes.
Will our fantasies ever be quenched?
Undoubtful.
Doubtful.
And quickly, for everybody, 2 things quickly. We're on Apple Podcasts and we're on Google Podcasts if you have an Android. But the Apple one is very cool. So if you like listening to stuff on Apple, you can find us there. All of our stuff will be pushed there automatically.
And we're working up that YouTube and that TikTok.
And that Instagram.
It'll be springtime before we feel like we know what we're doing.
That's fine.
Starting to get our feet on the ground here. Yes. Starting to feel where the path lies.
Right.
So, you'll see there's already a CapmLew TikTok out there. That's just CapmLew Podcast TikTok.
Yeah.
It's at CapmLew Podcast, but all it is like 6 videos of me doing a frontside Smith stall.
With 0 core strength.
Yes. 0 core strength was injured in the making of any of my skate clips. But
And-
we'll have excerpts from our
Yes.
actual podcasting.
And if you're interested, if you have a question or a comment or a topic you want to see discussed, you can email us at CapmLewQuestions@gmail.
That's
Which we should probably put on the description. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll start to get the descriptions and things like that going.
Yes.
We're grateful for everybody on Facebook who watched through with us, and we're grateful for those of you who will download the podcast and give it a listen.
Yep.
We hope to be back at you soon, but for now, for what it's worth, CapmLew.
Laters.
Nice.
Finish on the live.
Oh, we're still on.
Ah!
Look
Is
at
this
that.
mic on?
Well, isn't that whatever it is? All right, thank you, Facebookers. We know that a couple people held through. What a strange and wonderful world it is. We know it's glitchy. We know that the signal gives out, and that the video product is presently just a prototype of whatever we're going to be doing.
Yes.
Whatever we do, we want it not to be a lot of work.
Yes.
We want to put out content without fussing around with a bunch of expensive equipment. And we think that we can offer insane value. We do.
Think of the value.
Get the value. All right, for what it's worth, CapmLew.
Laters.